So, Owen, I'm going to turn it to you to start.
Okay.
What do you think about Rocco Becht? How do you kind of look at his legacy at Iowa State first, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So Rocco Becht is a guy who was loved by the fans, loved by the fan base, and he was a 3-star commit coming out of high school. So he wasn't this big name coming into Iowa State's, I believe, 2022 recruiting class. But what he did was go through the process. He was coached well under Matt Campbell and his staff at the time. And I remember the first ever game he played in was at TCU, a TCU blowout game in 2022. He threw an interception, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into the 2023 season, there wasn't really many expectations, kind of similar to 2022 season. So that was a team where, Iowa State had just gone through the whole gambling allegations and stuff like that.
Yeah, forgot
Hunter
about
Beck
that.
was
Yeah.
just kicked off the team. There was that whole situation. So Rocco Becht was the guy. He was the name that was going to start and did end up starting for Iowa State in 2023. Iowa State went on to go 7-6 in that season, and that's kind of when we're like, all right, this is our guy. This is the next quarterback. And did he have the best season in 2023? No, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't bad enough to to go elsewhere or to look for another guy.
I
And
was in
then
the
that
JJ Cole camp, by the
2024,
way, before the 2024 season started. I just want to confess, I was in the JJ Cole camp in 2023.
yeah, JJ Cole. I mean, JJ Cole. There's pictures of him standing next to Rocco Becht, and he makes Rocco Becht look like a toddler. I mean, he is really, he was thought to be the guy, the next guy at Iowa State. But Rocco Becht had this leadership type character and physique to him, and you could just tell his body language, the way he was on and off the field. He did camps for, I believe he did a kids camp at Perry after the
Yeah.
tragedy that happened there. So this was a guy who made it clear to the fan base, made it clear to the coaching staff, he wanted to be the next Brock Purdy. He wanted to be the next leader at Iowa State, and a quarterback who can get it done and maybe get Iowa State over that 10-plus win season hump. And that's exactly what he did in 2024. He led Iowa State to an 11-3 season with a win in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I got my Pop-Tarts Bowl
Hey, there we go.
shirt
Way to
on.
rep
Shout
it.
out to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's a People's National Championship. That,
Way to
that right
rep it.
there. Yeah. Yeah, and so that was a great season, and I think from there going into the 2025 season, expectations were high. All right, and we all know when expectations are high and you have Matt Campbell as your coach, it usually isn't going to go well. Iowa State started 5-0, so we were like, oh, this is going great. Rocco Becht, he looked, you could tell on the field he was just getting better. His arm strength, his accuracy, his running ability. He became a running quarterback going into the 2025 season. They were doing more design QB runs with him, especially early on against K-State, Iowa, stuff like that. Then it all started to happen. It went downhill. A 4-game losing skid. Rocco Becht gets obliterated at Cincinnati, probably
Obliterated.
concussed. And then
Obliterated.
we later find out towards the end of the season, around the Kansas game, that he had been dealing with torn ligaments, shoulder injuries. I mean, he was banged up and beaten mentally and physically. And he said publicly that 4-game losing streak was the worst point, the worst time in his career where he really felt down about himself.
Yep.
And it sucks in general the way the 2025 season ended. But I think Rocco Becht is mostly to blame for the way that it went down, for the way that it turned out, because Iowa State was up, I think it was 17-7 on BYU. What's he do? He throws it right to the defender, right? Iowa State, I mean, has the game in the balance against Arizona State. I thought they were going to win that game. I thought they were going to actually beat them by at least 2 scores, but what happens? They don't. And in the midst of that, Ben Bramer almost dies on the field.
Oh my
What's he do
gosh,
the next
dude.
play after that? He throws an interception.
Yeah.
Rocco Becht let the team down when they needed it the most.
Yep.
He let Iowa State fans down but we weren't wanting him. We didn't want him to transfer. Even after Matt Campbell took the job at Penn State, we wanted him back at Iowa State because we knew what he is capable of. We know he's a good quarterback, and he's shown it. And things happen, but he ended up going to Penn State. He ended up not just that, but before that,
we're going there already. I was going to table it.
Is in the women's locker room before the game against Iowa.
We're doing this already.
Is sitting with Ben Bramer, and I believe it was Caleb Bacon.
That's who it was. Okay, I couldn't remember the third one. It was Caleb Bacon. Yep.
I think it was Caleb Bacon. Yeah.
Yep.
He was. It was like nothing had happened. It was like he was still here. He was just going about what every multi-sport or guy who wants to be involved in multiple sports, football guys who attend basketball games and vice versa. That's what it looked like he was doing. And this is in the midst of, are we going to have a mass exodus? Is he going to transfer? Is everyone going to transfer, right? And so that honestly, what that did is that gave us false hope. That gave Iowa State fans a false hope that he might stay. He might choose to stay, despite Taylor Mauser not getting the job as head coach. But he did end up entering the transfer portal around Christmas. So for the kids who got Rocco Becht and Ben Bramer jerseys on Christmas, sorry, you can get them, but they're not going to be in cardinal and gold anymore. You have to get them in blue and white. And so I think the way that everything played out, when everything played out, was disappointing. It was, I lost respect for him. And like I said earlier, Rocco Becht, or at least we thought Rocco Becht was a leader. We thought he was a guy who could have the team. He could rally around the team and say, "No, we're not gonna all transfer. So what? There's a new coach, but this is where this is home. This is where we were. We were brought into the light. This is where we got our chance, and we've been playing football, for the past 2 or 3 years." In front of these fans, in front of this fan base, and they deserve one more year, and they deserve something to take pride in after the coach leaves. After 10 years, he leaves. But no, Rocco Becht is now the projected starting quarterback for Penn State this upcoming season. AJ, how do you think this is going to play out, and how do you think Rocco Becht's comments at Penn State a couple weeks ago correlate to the whole situation here?
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot there. I was going to let us both just kind of take our best swing at Rocco Becht's whole transfer portal process, but you did some of the work for me. So before I get to Rocco Becht and I think it was Adam Brenneman interview on his Next Step YouTube channel, where does Rocco Becht rank all time for me among Iowa State quarterbacks? Because I think that's the conversation that many people are wanting to have outside of what we're about to talk about next with his comments. Is he had, as you mentioned, 2023 was just kind of a weird year. I remember just so many times texting Iowa State friends and being like, I want JJ Cole. Like I can't trust Rocco Becht. He doesn't seem like the guy, like this, that, or the other. And then 2024 happens, and it was like, this is one of the coolest things that's ever happened to Iowa State football. And that's saying a lot coming from the Brock Purdy and the Breece Hall era. And so going 10-2, going to a Big 12 championship, going to a Pop-Tarts Bowl, like beating Miami, like there was a lot of really cool things that happened that 2024 season. Well, as you mentioned, in 2025, it all went downhill very fast. And I love what you said, that Rocco did let people down. And it wouldn't be the last time he let people down, because of what we're about to talk about with his comments at Penn State. But he just, even when he came back from his concussion and he was playing back to his caliber, he made egregious mistakes, man. Like boneheaded mistakes where I'm just like, what am I watching? It took me back to 2023 where I was calling for another quarterback, right? Like that was so mind-numbingly simple in how you're supposed to handle yourself and play complementary football. And you had Carson Hansen and Abu Sama and Ben Bramer, and like it was terrible. I mean, you talk about the BYU game. The BYU game was frustrating. The Arizona State game was worse. I mean,
What's worse, throwing an interception right to a guy when there's not even a receiver in within 10 yards,
oh
or
my
throwing an
goodness.
interception after your teammate almost dies?
Or yeah, like literally the next play, or 2 plays later, and just like putting up what was it, 19 points against an Arizona State defense that was Swiss cheese, and letting Jeff Sims, a sixth-year college quarterback, run 92 yards for a touchdown. I mean, like the whole season just was awful,
Terrible.
and that leads to after the season Matt Campbell leaving. We already talked about Matt Campbell and his legacy and all this different stuff. Well, we mentioned last week that Rocco's legacy now that he's at Penn State might be worse than Max Campbell's. It might be worse, and you briefly touched on it, but I want to hone in for people so they realize like how deceitful this was. And maybe Rocco didn't realize this, but like this how deceitful it was. So the interview you mentioned is Rocco Becht sitting down with Adam Brenneman, who's this college sports guy, just goes to different colleges and talks to up and coming schools or blue blood schools or whatever. And he asked Rocco, he says, basically what was the process like of leaving Iowa State, going to Penn State? He said, I talked to my dad, blah, blah, blah. I talked to whatever. And then he says, I called Matt Campbell. And Matt Campbell said, are you coming to Penn State, basically? Like are you going to be here? And Rocco's response is really when I want to shout out Jack Trice Mafia because he clipped the video and tweeted it out. That's really when it got interesting for Cyclone fans. Because Rocco Becht said on the phone to Matt Campbell, like, yeah, I've always been wanting to go there. Like, I'm always going to be there. Like, I knew I was going there the whole time. And we're like, what? Like, why would you say that when, as you mentioned, Owen, this dude was at an Iowa State women's basketball game in the midst of having to make a decision. He hadn't made a decision yet. And this is what I said in Cyclone Kingdom, like, on our YouTube channel, is if you knew you were going to Penn State the whole time, or you were at least leaning that way, and Ben Bramer and Caleb Baker are like, let's go to the Iowa State basketball game, say no. Say no. Don't show up somewhere where you're going to be in the public eye, where the tweets are going to go out, the social media is going to go viral, and it's going to be like, these guys are sane, like I thought. Like I'm sure you and a lot of other people thought. They're there. They're here to stay. Because Kyle Conradi, remember, did something similar, either before or after that, and came out a week or two later and said he stayed at Iowa State.
Yep.
Then he goes to the women's locker room. And that's when it just really ticked me off, man. Because you're now going into a building, into a team locker room and talking about leadership and talking about loyalty and talking about this, that, or the other, and you don't believe it. You're talking about things you don't believe in. And so that's really when it was like, okay, bro, like you are in a worse situation than Matt Campbell from an Iowa State fan's perspective, because Matt Campbell at least had a reason to go to Penn State. He had a reason to go to Penn State. Outside of Matt Campbell, you didn't have a reason to go. In fact, you probably could have stayed and been part of a Big 12 caliber team, like a championship caliber team. But no, you knew you were going the whole time, and you deceived Iowa State fans in the process. And so it just, I don't know what to say to him at this point. Like I went from kind of being excited to watching him play to like not being mad if they go 3-9. Like that's the kind of character that Rocco Becht has proven to show. And, he called Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy told him to play for Matt Campbell, blah, blah, blah. Like, all this different stuff happened. But if the Iowa State women's basketball game had not happened, I would be fine. I'd be like, you know what? I'm sad, but go ahead. No, you did that in the midst. Like, we know what a timeline looks like, Brock or Rocco. Like, we know what it looks like. You did this in the middle of deciding, but your mind was already made up. And you led us all along the process. So,
yeah.
I don't know what to say to him, man.
Yeah, I would say, he's an adult. He can make his own choices. He won't drink for free in Ames. I don't even think he'll be welcome back in Ames. His jersey won't be in the rafters.
Oh, dude, the reunion thing is like Jamie Pollard's quote on an Iowa State radio show, where it's like you're talking about players that left, right? Audie Crooks, Rocco Becht, like your name's not gonna be in the rafters. You're not gonna be in the Iowa State Hall of Fame. Like Rocco's not being welcomed back for reunion seasons. Like I hope we know that.
You can come
In,
back for school-related stuff because you graduated from Iowa State, but
in
don't come to sporting events. You're
2034,
gonna get booed. You're gonna get booed. So
in
that's
2034, when the 10-year reunion happens of what we believe is one of the best Iowa State teams of all time, Rocco Becht should not show his face in Ames. He just shouldn't. Like, I'm not even saying that Iowa University is not going to invite him because I feel like you're obligated to invite him. He shouldn't go. He should not go. Because if he does, it's going to leave a worse taste in our mouth 10 years after the fact of what you did to us. And so it just,
and
where did you rank all time? Like, I don't,
yeah.
where
we
were you going to go with that? Because I have a take on it, but
after the Iowa game, I said if he beats Iowa, I'm deeming him as the number one quarterback in Iowa State history because of the trajectory he was on, and I got heat for that. I did.
Oh,
But
man.
here's the thing about Brock Purdy: he never beat Iowa. Brock Purdy never got Iowa
True.
State to a 10-plus win season.
True.
The trajectory, Brock Purdy, from the time that he beat Iowa or before, had accomplished more, had better stats, but I didn't expect Rocco's career to be over anytime soon.
Right.
It's like if he beats Iowa, all right, we're 5-0. This guy is the best of all that there has ever been at Iowa State. But
Right.
no, they lose 4 straight in that, So he's definitely not number one. In terms of purely in terms of statistics and records, I'm going to put him at number 3 behind Seneca Wallace and Brock Purdy. That's where I'm going to have him. What about you, AJ?
That's a good spot to put him in. I would put him. I go back and forth because he did have the success. Like we talk about 2024 going, what was his career? 2-1 against Iowa. I mean, like, well, actually, he went 2-0 against Iowa because 2023 doesn't count anymore. So he's actually undefeated against Iowa. And so
That's true. Yeah, good point.
So for that reason alone and the 2024 season, I feel like I have to put him number 2. Now, Seneca's ability and talent is, I mean, I think Seneca still might be the most talented quarterback in Cyclone history. But with the awards and the accomplishments that go along with it, you have to put Brock 1, and I think you have to put Rocco 2. Now, based on how he plays at Penn State, does that change our answer? Because I think that's a very interesting conversation to have. If he goes 7-5 at Penn State this year, or even 8-4, anything less than 9 wins, and he doesn't have a good year. Now, I get the Big Ten's better than the Big 12 in terms of football powerhouses. Are we not going to hold that against him and say, not only did you leave, not only did you deceive, but you didn't finish well? If he has a great season, I don't think we care, right? I don't think we care. But if he has a bad year, Owen, I think you have to potentially put him number 3 and even number 4.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man.
mean, he's not an Iowa Stater anymore, so I don't think that it really matters. But because I mean, if we're just talking purely quarterbacks in Iowa State uniforms, then he's not an Iowa State uniform anymore. But I could definitely understand an argument where like you said, if he does bad at Penn State, then okay, he's a quarterback. Is he good or bad? Oh, he's bad. Well, then what?
Right. Right. So I think that's at least something that we have to pique our interest in when we watch Penn State this year, because it's very important how you finish. It's not just how you start.
It's gonna be something else watching Penn State. It's like watching 2 teams. It really is gonna be like watching 2 teams here.
I hate it the most.
For those of you,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go.
I was just gonna say, for those of you watching who aren't Iowa State fans, who didn't have 50 players leave from your team, you're not safe from this. This is going to happen to you one day or another. It's coming. This is college athletics. You wanted it. Here you go. You're going to be in the same spot as us down the road, 3-4 years down the road.
Yep. Last thing on this, and then we'll move on. But I was thinking about this today, and even as we're talking, the people I feel the worst for in the situation are the Ben Bramers, the Carson Hansons, the Marcus Neals, the Eskilsons, right? Like these guys that just were awesome Iowa State players, go under the radar because they're not like huge names in the transfer portal, and are now basically being lumped in with Matt Campbell and Rocco Becht simply because of the things those guys are saying. Like people and we've been getting a lot of interaction on X and stuff about, oh, let it go, guys. Oh, you're you're still being bitter and stuff. We would not be talking about. I just want people to realize this. We would not be talking about this if those interviews hadn't happened, or if there was coach speak or player speak answers. Like we just wouldn't.
This is all. This is all right now. This conversation is all because of what they said in the past 3-4 weeks.
Yeah. We would not be giving our take on it if not for that happening. And so that's why I feel for Bramer and Hansen and Eskelsen and Neal and those types of guys. It's like those are awesome. Like Marcus Neal might be one of my favorite defensive players in Iowa State history. And he played 2 seasons. Like the dude was awesome. He just followed me on my TikTok profile. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. It's like this guy still loves Iowa State. Mm-hmm. But he's now being lumped in and will forever be lumped in with Matt Campbell and Rocco Becht. And that's not fair to those guys. And so I just want to give those guys a shout out and say we're at least wishing them well because they're not coming out on social media or this or the other and saying, Ames is a desert town or, oh, I was always coming to Penn State and I'm lying to people. Like Ben Bramer didn't say that. We don't know if Ben Bramer hadn't made his mind up yet or not when he went to the women's basketball game. So in our mind, Ben Bramer is still in good graces with Iowa State fans. But Rocco and Matt,
there were players like Jeremiah Cooper who went off on fans, on X and stuff for hating that. We don't hate them. I mean, we understand it sucks. We're fans. We paid you your salary, but what do you want us to, do you want us to hug you, to congratulations on the new, what do you want us to do? We're gonna be upset. We're gonna be a little sour,
right?
But we don't hate you. We wish you the best, but if you don't have it, we're not gonna care. And to go off on fans like that, it just shows his lack of proper character and respect for the fan base. He had a pick 6 against Iowa. He was great before he got injured. And so and like you said, there's still former Iowa State players like Carson Hansen, Ben Bramer, who are on better terms with us because they didn't say those things. They didn't take negative shots towards the fan base.
Right. Right. So, I wish those guys well, and we'll stop talking about it when Matt Campbell and Rocco Becht stop giving us ammunition. Just straight up. That's when we'll stop about it.